Welcome to the I Would Never podcast with Brisk. Today, my special guest is someone that we had on previously, but for other reasons, I had to cut it short because I was booked and busy that day, unknown to me. But I'm glad to have him back for part 2 of his interview. Please welcome independent wrestler Cody Jones to the podcast.
Thanks for having me back. So glad to be back for part 2.
Yeah, I'm glad that you agreed to do a part 2, because the first time I was so mad that I had to go off and do other stuff. The first thing was something I didn't want to do. So I really didn't want to go do it. But
it always,
I didn't want to make no one angry.
Always happens that way. But hey, we're here now.
Exactly. That's all that matters. We're here in the present. Before we get started, I want to give a little inspiration to the listeners of the podcast. From this point forward, at the beginning of every podcast, I'll start with an inspirational quote that kind of motivates you guys, because, again, we don't know what you're going through. We're all kind of going through this pandemic in our own different ways. So I just want to kind of be a little ray of sunshine in your life, if I can be. Today's quote is from Oprah Winfrey, and it's, "Self-esteem means knowing you are the dream." And
that's perfect.
I personally identify with this because, as we all know, I think very highly of myself. So
nothing wrong with that,
though. Exactly. So high self-esteem to me, it means that you're not cocky. It might come off as cocky. I'll say that. But in all honesty, there's nothing wrong with having confidence in yourself. If you have confidence in yourself, you'll be able to be authentically yourself all the time and never have to worry about no fear of judgment, especially if you have the proper support system you need to deal with stuff like that. How do you think this quote relates to you, Cody?
I'm full of myself. Not as much as I used to be. I'm a little bit more humble now, but in wrestling, you have to have confidence, because if you don't believe in yourself, how is that fan supposed to believe what you're doing? Like, if I go out there and tell you I'm the best wrestler, you damn well believe I think I'm the best wrestler. So
exactly.
If they see through that, then you're screwed. And that happens in real life too. If you have false confidence, or people see through that, but just be yourself. Be yourself, because if they don't love you for being you, then they don't need to be in your life.
I agree wholeheartedly. If you can't handle me at my lowest, you don't deserve me at my highest.
Exactly.
You know? But enough with the inspirational bullshit. Let's jump into the podcast. For starters, I want to say, I cannot believe that you ran into 50 Cent.
I knew this was coming.
Like, the second I saw that post, I was like, we're definitely talking about this. I need to know the context. I need to know how we got there. What? Let's just start at the beginning.
So,
you're going...
I work at a gym. Most people don't know. Okay. I work at a gym. I got a phone call Monday from a dude saying that asked if we do day passes. Yeah, we do. I said, do you live in the area? Nope, we're visiting. $40. He's like, I got a VIP. Didn't think anything of it, because a lot of people think, going back to confidence, they have a little bit high on themselves, and everybody's a VIP in their own mind. And then 9 times out of 10, people aren't going to show up. They're like, oh yeah, we'll show up, and they never show up. And so about 15, 20 minutes later, they show up, and he signs his guy signs the waiver, and then the dude walks in, and I'm like, this guy looks familiar. Like, he looks like he could be something, but because dude's huge. And then he walks in, starts working out, and I keep looking at him, because you see somebody, and they're like, they're famous somehow, but you don't really know where. And then,
right.
And then one of the guys that works with me, he comes up to me, he's like, man, 50 Cent's a lot taller than I thought he would be. And I'm like, that's 50 Cent? and then sure enough, and then since Monday, he'd come to the gym 2 a days. He'd come in the morning, and come like at 6, 7 o'clock at night and work out. And then today I was just like, screw it, I'm going to ask for a picture. And he'd been real nice to me. I'd been talking to him. He's very approachable. And I took the picture, and I was skeptical, because I know being in entertainment myself, they just want to be normal. You know, like he can be 50 Cent all the time. He's 50 Cent all the time. Like he just wants to come in, work out, and not be bothered. But be friendly. Like you can talk to him, he'll talk to you, but he didn't want to be the big star that he's. You know, you kind of want that break a little bit, especially if you're going to the gym. And I struggled with taking the picture or asking for the picture, and then today I was like, screw it. I might not. This might not happen again. And
exactly.
Then,
you gotta take advantage.
Exactly. He thanked me for coming to the gym, or letting him come to the gym. Hey, can I take a picture? He said, yeah. I took the picture and put it on Facebook. I am the hugest 50 Cent fan. Like his Get Rich or Die Trying album, probably one of my top 10 favorite albums. Patiently Waiting with him and Eminem, probably one of my top 5 favorite rap songs. I mean, it's. Dudes.
So you were just fangirling so hard. Huh?
I'm standing behind the counter trying to be professional. Hey, if you guys need anything, let me know. But inside, I'm like, it's 50 Cent. I want to talk to you. I want to shake your hand. I want to do all this. Ask you about Eminem. I want to ask you about this. But like you gotta respect the man. And then he was cool. He's cool. He's a cool dude.
I'm glad that you're able to have these kind of experiences because I never had no red on the counter with a celebrity of that status before.
Oh man!
So just you casually posting a picture, with 50 Cent at the gym, something
people I've met,
like something regular.
The people I've met are crazy. Like Paloma, I think posted it on Twitter earlier. Like the amount, like the crazy stuff that goes on. I don't talk about it because. I don't do it for clout. Like these are my idols. Like I met Scottie Pippen. I am a huge Chicago Bulls fan. 97, Jordan's the GOAT, all that stuff. I love LeBron. There's an argument there. We get it. We're not going to get into sports. People aren't listening to this for that. But met Scottie Pippen. Didn't really want to post it because these are people this is shit that is dear to me. Like this stuff I grew up on these people. Like 50 Cent, like I said, one of my all-time favorite rappers, and I met the dude. Didn't really want to post it. She's like, you should post it. I'm like, I don't really want the clout. Like, I'm not doing it for clout. It's just
like you really don't want everybody to be like, oh my God, you met 50 Cent. Why did you say that? Like you really don't.
I just wanted to be like, hey, I met the guy, and then I have this photo for the rest of my life because I might not ever get to see the dude again.
Exactly. Like you said, you've been a fan since you were a kid. Yeah. So all you cared about really was your interaction with him. That's it.
And I think going into wrestling, I think my dad kind of raised me like for that because when I was a kid, I got to meet the Bushwhackers, Jimmy Snuka. I met Ric Flair and all this stuff when I was a kid, like Jake the Snake, Honky Tonk Man, all these people when I was a kid.
Okay. Let's not act like you just casually just name dropped a lot of legends in like the past 10 seconds. Like you just casually say, I met the Bushwhackers, Ric Flair, Jimmy Snuka, we just met them like I do any other Saturday night. That's so casual.
That's what I guess what taught me to be this way now is. Like, now I get to appreciate it more. Like, looking back, I appreciate all those encounters and all that stuff. Paloma even gets on to me sometimes. She's like, you don't even sit down and kind of think about who you've met and who you've wrestled. Like, because the list of people I've wrestled is another name dropping. And it's just another job for me. And then, so I guess just meeting these people, like, I appreciate it. Trust me, I appreciate that. I'm a fan of all these people, but I also understand that they're entertainers. They want to be normal, and just kind of being around that type of stars in my mind, I've kind of normalized them in my eyes, which also made me be able to not be such a fan when I see them, when I meet them. I can control my stuff to kind of respect their privacy and stuff like that.
Exactly, like you know how to conduct yourself. Yeah. I would say. Instead of just being that stereotypical fan that's just so starry-eyed and like, oh my God, I can't believe you're here, and really invasive of your space. Exactly. We don't like fans like that.
Not really at all.
Like I see it all. I see videos online all the time of like when wrestlers are like at live events, they'll be like leaving the ring or something, and like fans will like reach out their hands and try to like hit them. Or like I know you probably saw the one with Alexa Bliss where I think it was a little boy hit her on the ass on the way out. And I was just like, I just feel like that's very inappropriate. Don't get me wrong, it was funny.
Yeah, yeah.
I did laugh.
But also, as a parent, like, that's not acceptable. How do you teach somebody just to reach over? Like, that's not how that works.
At all. Like, it just really, like, and it really sucks because it's like, I know you as an entertainer, you want to interact with your fans, but if your fans are just gonna grope you and just touch you inappropriately, you're not gonna want to interact with them, which kind of messes it up for your other fans.
Exactly. It takes one bad apple to ruin the whole bunch. Because yes, without the fans, I would not be on this podcast. Because you're a fan. I wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
And I wouldn't be wrestling. I'm coming up on 19 years. So I get the fans and I get that interaction, especially now more than ever, because it's a little bit easier for them to get in contact with the celebrities that they follow. But that just doesn't mean be just show us the respect that you would want shown to you. Like, you wouldn't want somebody just bombarding your social media inbox and sending you messages you don't want to receive just out of nowhere. Like, no, you don't want that. You wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want your son or daughter to go through that. So don't do that to us. It's just you can talk to us. We can have conversation. We're normal people. I know it doesn't seem like it because we're beating ourselves up for really no reason, just for entertainment purposes. But we love it. But it's one of those, like, just treat us with respect. We are humans too.
But like you just said, celebrities like it. I wouldn't say like yourself, but to me, you're a celebrity because
that varies depending on who you talk to. Like, I could be a celebrity in somebody's eyes. Like, these people see me wrestle and they're like, "Hey, this might be the closest thing to a WWE superstar or just a wrestler I see on TV that I'm going to get." So I'm that local celebrity at times. So yeah, I am a celebrity in some sorts.
Okay, good. Because to me, you're a celebrity.
Hey, I appreciate that.
Every wrestler I've been talking to, in my eyes, they're a celebrity because these are people I watched, like, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or someone else shared your content and I watched it. And it's like, to me, like, when I first initially reached out to you for our first interview, I was really nervous because, like, the week or so prior to that, one of my professors had asked me, you do a podcast and you like wrestling. Have you ever thought about getting wrestlers on your podcast? So at first, I took it as a personal slight. So you're saying is, I need to practice what I preach. I felt like I was being attacked personally. But after like a day or two, I was like, you know what? There's a few wrestlers I do know, but I don't know if they're going to respond. But I was like, the worst thing they can say is no.
Yeah.
So I just sent them out and I was like, whoever replies back, we can talk it out. And now I have interviews with you, Paloma. I have Joey scheduled for Friday. I'm excited. I love what I'm doing. I just want to say that. And I thank you guys so much for giving me your time.
Oh, no.
Because I know you guys are busy folks.
No, thank you for giving us the platform. I mean, without people like you and these people that want to have these conversations and want to get to know us as the independent wrestlers, because we're not the big stars you see on TV, but we have stories just like those people. So, and thank you and thank everybody that wants to give us the opportunity to have the voice for this, or the platform to share our stories.
Oh, absolutely. But I want to rewind a little bit about, I believe we talked about it in the first interview we had, but I know your dad's Mr. Ebony. And you like I said earlier, you casually name dropped all those people that you got to meet and whatnot. So how was it like growing up with a wrestler as a parent? Because I hear all the time, it's like, I always get the answers, I went to all their events, or they took me to one of their shows and I fell in love with the sport. Like, what's your story?
So my story was, my parents were divorced. I can't remember the age when they divorced. And my dad was living in Oklahoma City. I was living in Amarillo, Texas with my mom. And then during the summers, me and my sister would go visit my dad. And then I remember I was like 8 or 9. I was doing what kids do, climbing in the ring and all that stuff and just messing around. And then I, at some point around that age, decided to start training. Like, kind of kind of training as much as like my dad would let me train because I'm also 8 or 9 years old. So, and then
can't be doing flips and shit off the top, bro.
Exactly. And then like every summer we would go and he would train we'd go to the training and stuff like that. So then eventually I started training, and then I had my first match when I was 15. But to go back to the question before was the experiences were kind of similar. So we'd go visit, we'd go to the shows. I would usually at one point I started running the sound for the show. So I'd play the music for the wrestlers. I would play the music for the ring announcer, turn the mic down and all that stuff. So that was fun. And then we would do concession, kind of that type of stuff. And then eventually, so we would just go to the shows and hang out. It was fun. That's why I got to meet all these people. They would treat us nicely because of who my dad was and all that stuff. So it was fun. It was not, wrestling wasn't forced on us. We had the option not to go to the shows and stuff like that, but I enjoyed it. I was a wrestling fan as a kid, so it was like I'd go home to Texas and watch WWF, Shotgun Saturday Night, Saturday Morning Superstars and all that stuff, but then go visit my dad in Oklahoma and be able to do what I saw on TV in a real wrestling ring. And then it just so happened I turned 15, had my first match, fell in love with it, and thought, and then saw how it brought me and my dad close together. And because he loved it. I mean, he loved wrestling. He never really retired, but he loved wrestling. And I saw his passion, and that made me want to get into it. But then I ended up falling in love with wrestling, and I love wrestling. I really do.
I love talking to wrestling fans because it's always interesting to see what made them fall in love with the sport. Because again, like I talked about last time, I fell in love with it way back in 2005, 2006, and I fell in love with the presentation of it. Like, I have an affinity for characters that are people easy to hate. You really want to beat them the hell up. It is so easy to hate them. Like, I see myself in these characters, and it's like they're so good that you hate them and you want to see them get beat, but they always somehow pull it out their ass in the end.
Yep.
And I feel like wrestling, again, to me, is a lot more than a sport. It's an entire presentation, because not only are you doing the moves in the ring with your partner, but you also gotta make sure the crowd's still into the match. You gotta make sure you're getting a reaction, because if you're not getting any reaction, that's horrible. Like, at least get something.
Yep.
And then you also gotta make sure that if you feel like your character's getting stale, you always don't stress about trying something new, because again, it's doing the same thing, it gets repetitive, and eventually you're going to have to refresh the repertoire, like change the wardrobe, or like change the finisher.
Yep.
Or stuff like that.
Always need to evolve, and that's in life in general. You can't be the kiss of death is being complacent and still. So if you ever just get to the point where you're comfortable, you're done, and that's just in life in general, because you have to take risks no matter what you do to be successful. So at least that's how I feel.
I feel the same way. I feel like I said, like in the beginning of this whole podcast thing, it was originally just an audio podcast, but then like once I believe this year started, or like it was like December of last year, I was like, I should probably kind of convert this to like not YouTube channel per se, but we should do video interviews, because I feel like people are a lot more receptive to interviews that they can see and watch how y'all react and stuff like that. And now fast forward to, it's almost been, I'm coming up on a year soon of having this podcast, and now I'm like, I only want to go, there's nowhere to go but up.
Yep.
I mentioned it to Paloma like on Twitter, and I was so mad, and I bring it up to her when we did our interview, but I've been working on this wrestling anime of mine, and I love anime. Let's just start there. I'm gonna do an episode on that eventually. School's kicking my ass So all the viewers that keep asking about it is gonna get done. Get off my neck. I love anime. I grew up on it. I grew up on Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, the basics, as people would say. But then I watched this wrestling anime called Tiger Mask. I don't know if
I've heard of
it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's like a wrestling anime, but it's with the NJPW roster. So we got to see the Bullet Club. We get to see Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
We get to see all of them in the show. And again, I think very highly of myself. So I watched the show and I was like, oh, this is nice, but I can do better. And then I was like, I kept saying it, but I was never starting the anime, so I was just trash talking and not having nothing to back it up. This went on for like 2 months, and I was like, Anthony, if you're gonna get this done, if you're gonna talk shit, the least you can do is back it up.
Yeah.
So I started writing it. I said before this year was over, I was gonna do at least 10 episodes worth of content, and then I was going to turn it into a manga first, and then I was going to see if we can get a TV adaptation. And so far, I believe I'm 4 out of 10 done. And it's a lot harder. It's a lot fucking harder than I thought it was. I talked a lot of shit, but it's one of the most difficult things I ever done.
I bet. I couldn't even imagine.
Creative. It's just so much. Like, I just thought you could just make the characters, and that was it. No. You gotta do the characters, you gotta do the backstory for each character, then you gotta decide the setting, the storyline, how far you wanna take it.
You basically just started your own wrestling company.
I basically, at this point, I should have just became a promoter. It probably would have been a lot more simpler. but like, I've been working on it since last year, like at the beginning of the pandemic. And like I said, my goal is to eventually see it get adapted to TV and become a full-fledged anime series. Because, again, I don't know if you heard, but I find it very, very coincidental that while I was talking about my anime, one of my friends sent me a snapshot of WWE apparently, giving the green light to a wrestling anime, apparently. And I was like, oh, lovely. So, of course, when I want to throw my hat in the ring, here comes the biggest wrestling company in the world. They're like, you know what? We're going to corner this market, and we're going to do it. I'm trying to wait and see how that goes first before I throw my stuff out there. Because I don't want to get out there and jump out there too early. And then they come out and they shit all over my... No, yeah. I can't have that. But yeah, like it goes right back to what you said. You have to evolve. You can't be complacent in the way you are. And if you say, like you said, if you get complacent, I feel like you're pretty much content with where you are. And the goal is not to be complacent. It's always room for improvement.
Yeah, and a lot of people are afraid of change too. Like they don't like putting themselves in situations that make them uncomfortable. Because people don't like to be uncomfortable. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't like to be uncomfortable either. But like you have to kind of put yourself out there and be uncomfortable to get what you want. Like if you want to do something, you have to put yourself out there and be uncomfortable. Like you have to take the risk and go to Mexico during a pandemic to wrestle in Mexico because that's what you want to do. You know, it's stuff like that. Because I did question that. I was like, do I want to go? Especially it was right in the middle of the pandemic. And I had all sorts of like doubts and stuff like that. And I'm like, and then Paloma helped, but I'm like, no, fuck this. I gotta go. I gotta do this. If I want to wrestle still, I gotta do this. It's an opportunity that won't come. It's like the 50 Cent thing. Everything's going full circle. Like I might not have another chance to go wrestle in Mexico, but I can say at least I can say I did.
Exactly, and it was a good match, though confusing at points for me personally. But I still thought it was a good match. I just feel like it was a lot of people to follow. And I feel like that's the problem with multi-man matches. And it's like, personally, I would say my favorite match of all time is probably Chris Benoit versus Shawn Michaels versus Triple H at WrestleMania. Yeah. Favorite match one of my favorite matches of all time. Favorite match type, I probably would say the Survivor Series traditional 5-on-5. I love elimination tag matches. I love tag team wrestling. Yep. I love the fact that I'm seeing more companies take more pride in their tag divisions. WWE not so much, but we're not going to shit on them. Everyone else is doing tag team wrestling right for the most part, especially with the women. I love the fact that women are getting more opportunities to shine, and now they're being seen as being on par with the men instead of being as a bathroom break.
Yeah.
And I know you said that you grew up around the wrestling industry, so of course all this stuff was normal to you. And you've been wrestling for almost 19 years now. So as someone who's been doing this for so long, and you've been wrestling for, I would say, the beginning of the 2000s, I believe. And yeah, you've been wrestling since the beginning of the 2000s. How does it feel watching the wrestling industry change from how it was when you first started to now in like the pandemic era?
First of all, it's crazy that you put it in perspective when I wrestled at the beginning of 2000. That's crazy to think about, first of all. That makes me feel
Because I was like 19 years.
Yeah,
I would say at least 2002.
Yeah, that's insane. But it has changed. See, it's changed, but it's still the same in the sense of like, wrestling's still a story. Like, you still have to tell a story. It's still an emotional roller coaster. But the wrestlers are more athletic now. I feel like it's a faster paced business, just because of the influence of the cruiserweights and everybody in it's more athletic, like I said. And then the way people watch content, it has to be a lot quicker. And you have to keep, because all the sports have evolved and gotten faster. The athletes are faster, so you got to kind of keep up with that too. But as far as I love to see the women finally get their due, because I grew up in the business and I grew up watching wrestling when it was late 90s, where like it was, you got Sunny and Marlena and all that stuff. They weren't real, like you got like the Alondra Blazes, but they weren't the focal point. Like the focal point was Sunny was the sex appeal. You know what I mean? Like Alondra Blaze was sexy, but she was athletic, which for some reason women can't be athletic and sexy. Like that's so fucking strange to me.
Such a foreign concept. I will never understand.
Me either. But to see kind of what you said, like these women that are now on par with men, like you got some women wrestlers that are better than some of the men in wrestling, not just in the big companies, just in wrestling in general. Like the best wrestler to me might be Charlotte, and that's gonna piss some people off. But like that's a
very controversial opinion.
But the two top wrestlers right now, men or women, are Randy Orton and Charlotte. That's just who they've been doing it for so long on such a high level too. Like Randy Orton and Charlotte, they are in the ring with people so they can better people. Like you put them in the ring with whoever because you know they're going to have a good match. You know it's going to be quality content and it's going to be good. Again, that's what wrestling is. It's good. You make the people. It's a dance. Like if both of us can dance, then that dance that everybody sees is going to be that much better.
It's like I said, that's a very controversial opinion, and I agree with your opinion. Though I wouldn't say Randy Orton will be the best for the men. The only person I can see that's kind of gives him a run for his money is Cena. Despite the fact he's been gone for a while, every time Cena came back is always at the highest of levels.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And it's like
Edge is up there too.
I think a lot of people just don't understand that when you're a good wrestler, you're gonna get utilized more, especially when you're as good as, like you said, Charlotte is making people look good and make sure the match is good.
And you're reliable.
And people get so... Yeah, exactly. And people get so mad because they're like, she's always being given opportunities and she's always being force-fed down our throats. And I get that, and I see that argument, but it's not like she's not good to back
exactly.
it up, like, you can say what you want about Charlotte. You can hate her, love her, whatever it is, whatever the case may be. But you can't deny that she's talented. She was literally, like they said, bred for the business. Her dad's Ric Flair.
Yeah, and people for some reason don't like successful people. Like, it's the, like, but I'm not in the sense of, like, but it's Tom Brady, LeBron James, you know, you got all these people that are successful, but people hate them. Why? Because they win? I mean, you can't. What's your argument? Oh, well, LeBron does this. Tom Brady does. Oh, no, he doesn't. Like, these people doesn't do anything to you. You're watching. It's an entertainment or it's an athletic event. They just so happen to be the best at this time. And I get it. It's a subjective business, and it's going to continue to be. There will be another person that will be like Charlotte. There will be another person that will be like Randy Orton or Cena. There's going to be those that come around, but right now, Charlotte is on top. But like you said, she was bred for this business.
And it's like again, like when you mentioned Tom Brady and LeBron James, and I always tell people, just because I get it, everyone has their own opinions. Like you said, it's subjective. It's always going to be that way. But you can't discredit someone's accomplishments.
No, just because you don't like them, or they beat your team or whatever.
Exactly. You can't be like, oh, they're a great person, but I don't count their last 3 championship wins because they beat one of my favorite teams. No, that doesn't make sense. Like, you can't pick it. You can't be that kind of fan. It's okay to be a fan and support your favorites and not like others. That's perfectly 100%. Fine. But don't diminish their accomplishments or be like, they only got this because of this, or they cheated to get this, or they were carried to this. Like, no. Everyone that's successful is successful because they're good. Mm-hmm. And if they're not good, they're smart. It's one or the other, or sometimes even both. Yep. Like, everyone is successful in their own ways, and people just need to accept that. Because, like you said, I really think people don't. I think you can be successful, but when you get successful to the point where, like, you're beating people, you're beating teams or people that people really like, and then you beat them, now people will turn on you with the quickness. Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, you can be successful, but don't get too successful.
Exactly. It's like, okay, now I get to, like, you won this championship, okay, that's cool, but now since you're a 15-time champion, I'm done, I'm over it. No, you can't get, like, people really, like you said, people do not like successful people. No. Like, you would think people would want to see you thrive. I've been willing to bet my whole paycheck that if you would have got signed to a major company right now and you just got pushed to the moon, everyone would be on Twitter like, this guy literally just got signed and he's already at the top of the mountain.
There would be something negative about it.
Every time. Like you'll have everyone like, why did he get the title? I can't believe he got it. And then you're getting shit on for like the next 6 months. Because you're good at what you do.
And then I lose it and like, good, he didn't deserve it anyways, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, that's 100% it.
And then fast forward a year, they're like, I can't believe it's been a year since he got the title last. I wish he got pushed. And then it comes full circle.
Exactly.
So it's wrestling fans are the worst. Yep. I love wrestling. I love the sport. I love everything it's done for me in my life. Wrestling fans are some of the worst fans on this earth, and I can say that as a wrestling fan.
I wouldn't say the worst, and it's not even a political answer. I wouldn't say they're the worst because I happen to be a wrestling fan too. But they are very passionate and vocal and take a lot of stuff personal. Like, it's a lot of like, oh, these companies are doing this to spite me. No. Like, nobody's this mad about movies. Really, nobody's this mad that one of their favorite actors got killed in a Batman movie or something like that. Nobody's this mad about it.
It's just weird to me because it's like you said, people are taking it personal, and then you got it like when I talked to Paloma about this in our interview, how when we have the older fans that grew up in like the golden age of wrestling, Hulk Hogan and all of them, and then you have the fans that grew up in the Attitude Era, and then you have everyone that came ruthless aggression, then you have this PG era, as people are calling it. And it's like the older folks are always talking about how wrestling isn't what it used to be, and now that with social media and everything, it's not sacred anymore. Jim Cornette's one of the main people that I know that really doesn't like how wrestling has devolved from being a sacred thing and being a secret business and people not knowing the ins and out of it. And like I mentioned it before, I said I kind of understand that because as someone who grew up and fiercely defended that wrestling wasn't fake for the longest, I was in denial for like a decade. And then I realized that wrestling isn't fake, it's scripted. And it did shatter the illusion for me, but then I realized I still like it. It doesn't change the fact that I like the sport. Just because I know, that to me it made me feel smarter that I knew. It's like certain secrets or things about wrestling that other people didn't know.
No,
and in my eyes, it's like I understand why wrestling being a secret was such a big thing back in the day, because you saw how big wrestling was when Hogan and them were around. Mm-hmm. Like, everyone was really into it. People were buying into it. People would come to the shows and riot and whatnot if the one wrestler they loved didn't win. So going from back when fans were passionate about it because they didn't know anything about it, like the ins and outs, to now where you can go on Instagram and look at your favorite wrestler and see how their personal life is. Yeah. I get the disconnect. I definitely do.
Because it's almost like you can't gatekeep it per se. Because I think that's what you end up starting to get at now is like when you're like, oh, well, you can't talk about this. Well, now you're gatekeeping the business. Yeah, and it's also too far removed from the fact that everybody knows the secret's out. Everybody knows what they know. I used to be the same. That I would defend it, obviously, because I grew up in the business, and like I got to the point I would fight people, or like I'd get super angry about it. And now like you can call it fake. I know it's not. You know it's not. You're just doing it to trigger me. So 9 times out of 10, that's what it is. But I wish it wouldn't have been so exposed. Like, because now it's kind of hard to suspend a fan's disbelief when they already know what's going on.
Absolutely.
Like, you can read the storyline, if it's a taped Raw or in NXT or whatever, you know what's happening, but then you go watch it. So how am I supposed to be invested in this? Like, go read the movie script and then watch the movie, and then you're like, I know what's happening. Like, it's hard to suspend your disbelief when you already know what's going on.
I agree wholeheartedly. I feel as though when it came down, when the whole illusion of the fact that wrestling was fake, so to speak, was shattered for me. Again, I was upset for a while, but then I realized I love wrestling, and nothing can really make me not like the sport. No matter if they spoil who's going to win or anything like that for me. Yeah. But now I agree, it is a lot more exposed because, especially now in these recent years, it's like surprise returns are being spoiled, future plans for wrestlers are being spoiled. You got people that have insiders in the company that are leaking these stories and stuff out. And I said it before that it's so hard to surprise the fans, genuinely surprise the fans these days. Because it's like they know everything. And it's like even people who are in the business or like work for the companies that these wrestlers are with, they themselves might just leak the news or share it with their friends and stuff like that. And not only are you exposing the business, but you're also ruining the element of surprise because now we all know what's going to happen. Now they might have to. They either got 2 options: they can scrap it all and start over, or they can just go through with it and see how the reaction goes.
And hope not everybody knows it.
It really sucks because I do miss the days where every week I looked forward to SmackDown or Raw because I didn't know what was going to happen. I wasn't smart enough to follow the storylines, and I couldn't call what was going to happen from a mile away. Yeah. But again, I said it once before, and I'll say it again. I'm a fan of the wrestling because of the wrestling and the presentation. If the wrestling's good, I can bypass a storyline because the storyline is the reason why you're invested. But if the wrestling's not good, it's a disconnect for me. It's like having the idea of Star Wars and you're like, oh my god, I love Star Wars, and then you go watch the movie, and the movie's nothing like you would think it would be.
Yeah.
And then you're just disappointed.
Yep. Exactly.
But staying on the topic of wrestling, last week, I believe it was last week, WWE released, I believe, was it 10 superstars on Black Thursday?
Some. I think, yeah. If not 10, it was like 6 or 8.
I know it was a lot of high-profile people that went, like Samoa Joe, Chelsea Green, Mickey James, the Iconics. That one really hurt me personally. The Iconics one really hurt me personally, and it's really. I just find it very funny that all of them got released exactly a year to the day that last year wrestlers got released as well. And then on top of that, I found it really a slap in the face that not only did you have some of these wrestlers on WrestleMania, that literally the weekend before this, but then fast forward a week later, you're sending Mickey James her things in a trash bag. And in my eyes, Mickey James is a legend in this business. Watched her when she debuted all the way up to now. I followed her career for a while. And to disrespect someone that's given so much to not only that company, but women's wrestling as a whole, I just couldn't respect that whatsoever. The same thing goes for the Iconics, Chelsea and Samoa Joe. These people gave that company their time and all their effort, and they just threw them to the wayside like they were nothing. And they cited the reason that it was budget cuts, but last year was their most profitable year ever. And I don't know, like, I think maybe I'm just being a salty wrestling fan because I watched a lot of their work for years, but I just feel like I don't understand why you release people that have this much untapped talent that they just can't see.
So every year they do it after WrestleMania. It happens every year. That's why it was on a year to the date type thing. Like for as far as the talent, yeah, Samoa Joe and Mickey James surprised me. The Iconics, not so much a surprise, just because they broke them up, and then they were just both kind of in limbo. And then Chelsea Green, I think it's more of her contract was probably closer to being up, and then she hasn't been healthy. She's been injured twice, and it's more of a, hey, probably go work the indies and then because they will release most talent and we'll keep an eye on them. And you go prove them wrong, and if you prove them wrong, they'll want you back. And if you don't want to go back, then you have that option to not to go back. And I think that would be the win there. It's like, hey, yeah, you released me, but all right, so I'm going to go prove my worth, and then if you want me back, you will contact me, and then I will have the option to say yes or no if I want to come back or not. So I think if you look at it that way, more of a business, like it happens. Unfortunately, it happens. Like, I would be crushed. You're coming for my dream job, and I got released, especially after WrestleMania. If I was on WrestleMania, or Joe commentated WrestleMania, but also Joe's been in the business long enough to kind of understand. I would imagine that stuff like this happens, and I think his situation was a little different because they wouldn't clear him to wrestle, and
right.
They probably were like, hey, do you want to be, we got a spot backstage or still be a commentator, because he was a damn good commentator.
He really was.
But he probably wanted to wrestle more, and they're like, it was probably more of a mutual thing. And same with Mickey James, I think, too, just because Mickey James still wants to have that last run, that last big run. Yeah, she deserved it, yeah. But also she's been hurt too, so it's kind of, her last run kind of looked bad because she wasn't on TV because she blew her knee out. And then when she was on TV, they had that whole thing with last year when she was wrestling Asuka, I think, right? And then I can't remember who came out, but they did that, and then I don't know if she got hurt again or she was more of a backstage agent. And they probably wanted to wind her down and be more of like a backstage agent, because she would benefit, or the locker room in general, men and women would benefit from her being an agent backstage. because like you said, she's a legend. Like Paloma's wrestled her. I've met her. Like she's a great person, and she's a great wrestler. But she wants to have that last run, and as wrestlers, it's kind of hard. You want to know you got to know your worth, and you think you can still go, and she probably still can. But WWE is like, hey, if you want to stay here, you're not going to wrestle, and then so all right, they released her, and then the whole bag thing. It's more of I think that's more of a corporate thing instead of just like a WWE thing. I think it's more like, because that happens in corporations all over the world. Like you get fired, they send you, hey, here's a box of your stuff, but it's because also Mickey James isn't the only person that they send their stuff to him. They send it to all of them. It's in a box usually, and then there's a bag in it. I think this one just was probably handled differently, and like she had the right to be upset about it and bring awareness to it, because that's all it is. You bring awareness to it because it has happened before. She's not the only one. She probably won't be the last one to have it done, but nobody knows it's happening if you don't bring awareness to it. And I think I give her props for bringing awareness to it. That's why I'm not saying it's like WWE. I'm not defending WWE in the fact that they just send stuff in a bag or anything like that. But I mean, it's they leave stuff all over the place, so they just tell somebody, hey, go put this in a box and send it to whoever stuff this is, and it just so happened to be at a time where Mickey James was probably at her lowest and just wanted to bring awareness to it. Like that's all I think it was, is her bringing awareness to it. And it was probably more of a knee-jerk reaction than she probably wanted it to be. But it needed to bring that awareness. That knee-jerk reaction might have been what needed to bring that awareness to it.
I agree wholeheartedly. I believe that in my experience, and I think it's just because I haven't gotten to a career yet, I just had jobs, even though I'm 22 years old, about to graduate college. And really, to me, jobs and careers are the same damn thing. Yep. But I digress. But I haven't had like a career where they sent me my things in a bag or a box or anything like that. So at least to me, to the outsider that hasn't experienced it, I think that's why a lot of people blew up about it, because maybe a lot of people are like me. They never experienced that or seen it. And like you said, people don't talk about it. So of course we might not know
exactly. Like it could happen to everybody, and she's the only one that says something about it. So nobody else. It could be happening for years, and we don't even know about it. And then this one happens to be a bigger profile star, and it's somebody that people love, and it was a shock. Like it really was. And then that now we're here. Like it brought awareness to it, and that's all it needed. That's all I think it needs to be, is just look at it for, hey, yeah, WWE and corporations in general are crappy in that sense of, like, it's just they don't, hey, once they're done with you, they're done with you. Like some companies, hey, we'll give you, here's a watch. You did a good job for being here for 60, 70 years. A watch, that's all I get.
I'll be damned.
Yeah, like it's like I put in, like it's not, it's like I worked a company for 5-6 years, and then some shit happens, and they're like, hey, all right, you're fired, and just here's a bag, go pick up all your stuff, and you just walk out with your bag, and then you're like, all right, well, they don't even give a shit.
It's really sad, because it's like you said, that might have been a corporate thing, because I know they came out and said they fired the person that was responsible for it, but when I look at it like this. In the past 5 years, it came to like that WWE doesn't even give health insurance to the wrestlers.
Because we're independent contractors.
Yes, but this is my thing, and I get that for independent wrestlers. I get that from them, because you guys aren't tied to not one company. You guys work in all these different promotions. So I understand you're like a freelancer, but WWE is probably the biggest sports entertainment company in the world, and they make so much money every year off of not only their sponsorships, but also their other projects like movies and the documentaries and network and all that. And you're telling me that you can't afford to give all these wrestlers on your payroll, health insurance, knowing that they go out every night and put their bodies on the line to entertain fans. And I get it. They do it because they love it and they love the business. But that doesn't mean that you can take advantage of that love for the business and not give them what they deserve to have.
The insurance is a touchy subject because, so some of these people would probably be losing money from their contract if they offered insurance. Like, some of these people are making, six figures, making $1 million contracts, and like that's why they can be independent contractors. So their money is higher, where they don't have to pay for insurance or taxes or anything. Because I don't think you can just give somebody corporate insurance without taxing them and stuff for it too. So then they would have to be employees. When I don't know the logistics of it, but I do know, like, independent contractors, I get why WWE does it. Because WWE as a corporation is in Stanford. WWE as the what we see on TV, as the wrestling, is all over the place. So you make all these money off the likeness and all the they make the money off the wrestler. I would make the money off of like my T-shirt sales and licensing agreements and action figures and stuff like that. In turn, I guess they pay. I don't know. I really don't know how to answer this question. Like, it's a tough thing. Like, I get it. I think it would. I don't know, because I think I would want to be the independent wrestlers having insurance, and I know it sounds biased. I know, but we're not making the six figures like those guys are, or guys and girls are. And it's such a weird thing. Like, it's a touchy subject, and I don't know the right answer, because people talk about unions. And then if there's a union, then that would affect the independents terribly, because we'd have to pay into that union, and we're sometimes not making enough to pay into that union, and
especially now.
Yeah, and I think this isn't justifying or taking WWE's side or anything. A lot of people don't realize, like, they're like, oh, well, WWE's got the highest year that they've had, in years this year, and they're making all this money off of sponsorship and stuff like that. Okay, usually they would have to spend that in putting on a TV show. So you're talking about a 3-hour show, HD, with all the pyro and renting out the building. You're looking at a couple $100,000, if not $500,000 a Monday to run a show. So, like, it's not like they're just making this money and pocketing it, and like everybody's like, oh, the budget cuts and they Peacock, they just made whatever the $5 million billion, whatever the hell it is. But that's not. They didn't just get that lump sum at one time. Like, they get it over time, and I mean, it really does suck that they have to cut people. It really does. But that also happens when you have so much talent. Like, they have a huge roster. And they have a lot of wrestlers that are just sitting there, and they're just paying people to sit there. And they want younger. For whatever reason, they want younger, so they're going to keep the younger talent. Like, I'm probably hit my window to go to WWE, so I don't know why I'm on kind of backing them for whatever reason, but I've probably hit my limit. I'm 34 years old, and I'm old to them. So
I just want to start my rant by prefacing, I feel like you're never too old to go to the WWE.
I agree.
They let Sting get in the ring, and he's old as dirt.
Yeah,
they let Undertaker get in there and put in that sorry-ass performance, and he's old as dirt.
Sting's money.
I feel like...
Sting's
I just feel like there's never... I feel like you have just as much of an opportunity as anybody else. Because you never know what the future holds. They can call you tomorrow.
That is true.
And be like, yeah, come in.
You never know. You never know
what today and do this.
My dad always told me, you never know what they're looking for. Like, you could be the right place, right time, and they could be looking for what you bring. But the Sting and Undertaker argument, well, Undertaker's, they didn't just bring him in. He was there forever. And Sting, like, and he's gonna be that money draw. And if you're that old like Goldberg, if you're that, you have that age and you have that name and you can bring some sort of value to them, then they're going to bring you in. Like, they're going to give you that $1 million for a WrestleMania match, but they're going to get that investment, a little bit, if not all that investment back with the buy rates and the ticket sales. So, I mean, I'm not going to bring them any money. Like, I'm not going to bring WWE any money. Like, I might get a few fans, but nobody's going to, like, I'm not that money that they're looking for. Like, am I a good wrestler? 100%. Would I benefit in WWE? 100%. Could I bring something different to WWE? 100%. Could I bring something to AEW? Yes. But I'm not that money that they're just gonna sign me and then put me in that position to succeed. I'll have to start at the bottom, which is fine. I'll do that. But to go off what you're saying, I'm not Sting. I'm not Goldberg. I'm not Undertaker, and I never will be, just because I don't have that name value.
Like, I get that completely, like you said. Like, you've been on the independents for damn near 20 years. And then if you did get signed, we'll be at the bottom of the pecking order.
Yeah, that 20 years doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. They'll look at it and be like, okay, cool, you was on the indies for 20 years.
Yep.
But here we go. We're going to put you in developmental. You're going to spend like a year or two here before we call you up to TV or something.
Which makes sense, because they have a formula of what they want to put on TV, and it's worked for years. Why change it? Like, it works. Like, I get it. I'd go there. I'd be the janitor in NXT. I'd go sweep the toilets, and then eventually they put me on TV. And then I'm like Elias when he would just walk through when he was the drifter. I'd be the janitor, just be in the background walking through. And then all of a sudden, and then somebody would keep picking on me, and then I'd finally snap and challenge him to a wrestling match. And then this whole time I'm a wrestler.
Right. Everyone's like, I can't believe he had this training. Nah, he's been doing this for damn near 20 years. All the real fans know.
Hey, everybody out there, nobody steal that storyline, damn it.
And watch WWE, it'll be next week. Someone will have the storyline. And I'm like, wow, I find that very convenient. Like, if you're going to take the storyline ideas, the least you can do is compensate. Right. But on the topic of storylines, I know that, like, in the big companies, of course, that have, like, television deals and stuff like that, they have storylines that are always going on in the company. So, as an independent wrestler, do you have, like, storylines you have going on in any of the promotions that you perform for that you're keeping up with, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, like, I have a storyline right now. Me and Plum actually have a storyline in War in Ohio where we're going after Damian Chambers and Harley Fairfax, I think is her name. She just won the title. And they're crappy people, so me not knowing her name doesn't really bother me. So that storyline's going on. I'm kind of also, obviously, I'm invested in that, but sometimes there's storylines, sometimes there's not. You just go in there and you wrestle, and then if you go there long enough, they'll put you in a storyline. But usually it's more of like spot show stuff, and it also depends on when the company runs. So if they run every other week, then it's easier to do storylines. Every month, it's kind of harder to keep up with storylines. It just really depends on the company. But I prefer storylines, so that way I at least know a direction of where I'm going. Because, I mean, I could go wrestle, yeah, that's fine. But after a while, I want to be invested in what I'm doing. Like, when I go out to the ring and wrestle, I want to be invested in it, and so that way the fans can be invested in it.
And that goes back to the whole presentation of it. Like, yeah, you can put on a good wrestling match. Anyone can put on a good wrestling match, I feel like. Everyone has the capability to put on a good wrestling match. But just because you can wrestle, that doesn't mean the fans are automatically going to want to tune into the match. No,
100%.
Like, if there's nothing behind it outside of just the wrestling, it's hard for a fan to get invested.
Yep. People love emotion. So you have to invoke emotion in people. That's what we're here to do. Like, either you're happy to see me, you're happy to, like, your kid take a picture with me, sign autographs, whatever, or you just want me dead because I've brought that much emotion out in you, and that's what we're supposed to do. But if if you just go out there and wrestle for the sake of wrestling, eventually they're going to be like, hell yeah, that's cool. Like, it's a good match. But then if you keep doing it, you're like, all right, there's no, and like, who is this person? Like, I want to be invested. I want to know about this person. Because if I don't know about this person, then I'm just going to get up and start going to the bathroom because I don't care.
Right. It's like, why should I care about this individual? Mm-hmm. That's the whole big idea of the game here. Like, why am I supposed to care about what he's doing?
Yep.
But I want to get into some of these fan questions I got from you because I didn't get to them in the last interview, so I had to scroll a little bit to find them, but I found some of them. Manny El Rudo, I believe is he a wrestler? Manny,
maybe
Manny El Rudo. He sounds like his profile. Yeah, he sounds like his picture looks like it. He looks like a luchador. Okay, but his question is, what's your biggest goal in wrestling?
Just to entertain people. So my goal is to be successful. But my definition of successful isn't always about making money or making it through WWE or making it to AEW. I want to be a wrestler. That's all I've known for almost 20 years. I want to wrestle in front of people. Like, I want people to know that I exist and I can entertain people. I want people to know about me because I have a long story and a lot of people don't know about it. And a lot of people don't know about me. They just see me like, hey, this guy, sometimes looks cool, he can wrestle good, but what about him? But my goal, I don't know, man, like, just to wrestle where I can, wherever. I just want to be wanted in wrestling. I want to be good enough to where people are like, hey, will you come wrestle for me? Or I reach out and they're like, yes, I would like for you to come wrestle for me. Because it's back and forth. Like, I have to reach out too. I just want people to enjoy what I bring to a wrestling ring. That's really all I want. And then I just want to make people proud. Like, I want to make my dad proud. That's my biggest goal in life, is just to make him proud. I know he's watching, but I want to make him proud. No matter where it's at, in front of 5, 10 people, no people in these cases sometimes. I just want him to be proud of what I've accomplished and what he thought of me when I was a kid, that I was able to meet that expectation and hopefully just blow the ceiling out of it and be 10 times better.
I know your dad is so proud of you because, again, being a wrestler for 20 years, I can only imagine the shit that y'all go through. Because growing up, I wanted to be one so bad. Then I got older and realized what y'all do. I'm like, I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd have been able to do it if I hadn't have been started at a young age.
Because I keep been kicking around the idea of going to wrestling school after I'm done college and whatnot. But I'm like, I'm a lazy bitch. I'm gonna be honest. I'm so lazy, and like I'd rather be paid to either be a commentator or be like an analyst or something. I just want my biggest goal in life is just to have people like you said, want to pay to see me. I always said when I was younger, from the time I was like 10 and up, I always said I want to get paid to talk shit. That's what I want to get paid for. And I want people to be like, I can't wait to see what Anthony's going to talk shit about this week. That's what I want to get paid to do. Yeah. I want to be the Jim Cornette of wrestling, but I don't want to be as hated as he is. I don't want any of the controversy that comes with Jim Cornette. I just want the popularity. I don't want to be someone who caters to like one specific style of wrestling or one specific company, like people like Dave Meltzer, to say the least. I want to be able to give a very general overview of all the companies. I want to give an unbiased opinion because, again, all my favorite wrestlers are either dead or they don't wrestle anymore. So it's like, it's not like I can be like, oh, this is my favorite wrestler and I think he's the greatest of all time because he beat Elias last week. No, I kind of want to get involved in all of the wrestling so I can provide a better perspective to say.
Yeah, and that's great. And I also want to like just use the little platform I have to just spread good vibes, like just joy, like positivity, because I think a lot of people don't understand. Like I guess we were talking about before we got on that, like, you know, you said that you start with that intro, and some people don't know that they might need to hear something like that, and I think a lot of people just want to be positive and maybe not know that they need it or want to hear that. And I mean, I want to be a light in such a shitty world that we live in, and in such a shitty business too, because wrestling's not the best business in the world. It's the greatest sport in the world, but there's still your normal shitty and negative people in it. So I just want to be that positive. I want people to when they see me wrestle, like, man, I hated him, but damn, he was good, or man, I loved him, and I want to come back. You know, that's all.
I agree. Like, I love making people laugh, and I love putting smiles on their faces. Because, like you said, the world's rough enough already. You know, our lives are already hard as hell. And I feel like everyone deserves a little happiness, a little kindness, a little what's the word I'm looking for? A little charitable action can go a long way.
Yep.
And you never know what someone's going through. You never know what life is doing to somebody. Right now, I could be kicking my ass. It is, honestly. College is a shit. And all the viewers are listening that are current college kids, are thinking about going to college. Don't do it. Go to trade school. Save your money. Do not put yourself through. Well, I did it for 5 years. 4 or 5, or however long you go to college for. Don't do it. Just go to trade school. Save yourself some time. I'm on year 5 and I hate it. But back to what I was saying. I love to entertain. And growing up, I was always a class clown. I was always the guy that was making people laugh while I should be doing my damn work. I'm always making fun of somebody or making the kids laugh. And growing up now, it's kind of coming full circle that now I'm kind of turning it into my career almost. Because now I'm interviewing people, getting to know y'all a lot better. We're having a good time. Yeah. And like I said, I just love making people laugh and smile. It's one of my favorite things to do. And everyone deserves a little happiness in their lives.
Exactly, and I wish people would realize that too. Either they want to spread that, or they realize they want to have that happiness. And because sometimes happiness is weakness. No, it's not. It's okay to be happy. It's actually not that bad, really.
It's really not. Being miserable is a choice, and if you choose to be miserable, that's your life. That has nothing to do with me. I believe that you attract what you put out, and I put out a lot of positive energy. Sometimes it may not be in the best interest, but I try my best to help everyone.
Yep.
You know, and I try to be, like I said, I try to be that guy that people can be like, oh, I'm having a bad day. Let me listen to one of Anthony's podcasts,
yep.
or let me go talk to Anthony about what's on my mind. Because again, life kicks our asses enough. It's about time that we all had something that brings us happiness. For me, it's this podcast, working on my anime, playing video games, getting to do what I love. That's what brings joy to me. For you, it's wrestling.
Yep.
Everyone has that one thing that they love to do and it brings them happiness. Yep. And I just hope that I can become that one thing in someone's life.
Me too.
But let's go back to your fan questions, because a more recent one I got 2 hours ago is really funny, from this user it's such a weird name, Paloma Star with 2 R's.
I love how you did the 2 R's.
I don't know who this is, but she looks like a very interesting character. But her question is, who is your favorite opponent, and why is it Paloma Star? So I assume you have some type of history with this Paloma Star character.
Oh, so a funny story about this Paloma Star character is, we've wrestled a few times. She keeps getting into my inbox just trying to have another match with me because she wants to look better in the ring, and she knows if she's standing in the ring across from me, she looks better.
I can't wait for that. I'm so excited for that.
My favorite opponent. Oh, that's good. I have about 3 of them because they go from phases. Almost 20 years. I have about phases of wrestlers that I wrestled. So early on, my favorite opponent is also my best friend, Austin Riley. We had just great chemistry from the get, as friends, as wrestlers, as enemies, as whatever you want to call us. We had a loser leaves town cage match where I put him through a flaming table. It's on YouTube. It's not like, looking back on it, it wasn't safe at all. Like, he got burnt. I feel so bad for him. And then Orlando Christopher was in. He was in Ohio. He was in War Wrestling. I had a series with him when I first got into War, and it concluded when we had a Falls Count Anywhere match. No, a Last Man Standing match, and at War's anniversary show, probably about 3 years ago, and he threw me off the balcony, and so
fuck. You just went so casual.
Yeah. So like we just had that same chemistry as me and Austin. Like it's that me and Orlando Christopher are a lot alike in the sense of like we've been wrestling for a long time. We've been through the same stuff. And it's just like we have that same drive. We want to be the best, but wrestling's taking a toll on us as well mentally. And he got me at a time where I needed that push to prove myself because we had just moved to Chicago and I was new. I had to prove myself from the start, and he was that person that helped me break through, and then eventually I was a world champion. So I mean, without that storyline with him or without that feud with Orlando Christopher, I don't think I'd be world champion because I don't think I'd have been able to get. I wouldn't have been able to be as good as he brought out in me, and I wouldn't have been able to be the heel that I was to get to that point.
Question. So I have a few questions actually, but the backpedal about how you said that you had chemistry with all these opponents of yours. I hear wrestlers talk about that a lot, where certain wrestlers that they wrestle is like magic. Everything they do together is magic. How do you? I guess it's not like a process for how you figure that out, because I'm assuming it just happens. But what makes you? How do you decide on if you have good chemistry with an opponent or not?
For me, when I go, like say with Austin and them, I knew Austin and so I'd been wrestling him for a while, and then we had chemistry, and then we decided to kind of like just make it a bigger thing. So that one we kind of knew that the first time we wrestled, and we were just doing stupid shit, and then we kind of grew up in the business together. So that's a little bit. But with Orlando Christopher, and usually I go into a place and I'm usually new to the place, and I start talking to the person about who we're gonna, what we're gonna do, and you kind of get to know them. It's kind of like a speed date real quick. You just got to figure out who they are, and what they want to do, and then I start listening. And I'm like, oh, okay, this person kind of has the same ideas that I like to do, and kind of is trying to get to the same. We're trying to accomplish the same goal. And then usually when that's the case, you go out there and it just ends up being magic. And then you start doing it multiple times, and then you get to the point where you could probably wrestle the person in your sleep and not really. You go out there and not have to call anything, and you know the next person's move. So it's more of a, like, I can feel it a little bit when I talk to the person. And then once you put the match together, you're like, okay, I kind of like where this is going. We have the same goal. And then it just goes out there, and it's usually magic.
Well, you said that it's usually magic when it comes to you and your opponents, and like you talk about it beforehand. So like, in the risk of exposing the business anymore, I won't ask for details of what y'all decide to do. But is it like y'all go over? Do y'all go over like the kind of like spots you want to do, or is it like the story? Do y'all go over the story that y'all want to tell? Like, or does it like vary from person to person?
It varies from person to person because each person you might be just wrestling that one person one time, and then you might be wrestling that person multiple times. So like if you're wrestling the person multiple times, say for example the promoter's like, hey, we're gonna put you guys together, and then you'll be doing this but the blow off's gonna be 6 months from now. Okay, so now we know. You kind of work it like a wrestling match in the sense of what we're going to do at the beginning. We know what we're going to do at the end. So now we just have to tell the story in the middle to get to the end goal. Like we know where we're going. We know where we're headed. But it's more of like just, hey, like I have this idea, they have this idea. We can bounce it off each other to come up with. We can use both of our ideas to come up with a match, and then that's usually the best. Instead of, like, and I've been guilty of this too, where people are like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. And then they'll call the match for you, and it's kind of more of like a wrestle by numbers type, where you're just trying to go with you're just not going through the motions, but it's more of a spotty, not as fluid match, which is not bad, but it's not the same where you could just go out there and it's just kind of smooth and everything's clicking, the fans are into it, you're into it. It's just one of those. You can't explain it, and God, I wish you could bottle it up, because if you could, I'd be a millionaire.
Like I said, wrestling is a lot harder than what I initially thought it was when I was growing up. In my eyes, I just thought I grow up, I get strong, and I'm getting signed. That's what I thought the process was. I recently went on the WWE website, actually, to look at their, to see how I go about applying if I did want to be a wrestler for them. And their whole process is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But I realize a lot of wrestling schools have the same thing. They actually feel like a headshot, the body shot, ask us if you got any previous training, or give us a short bio about yourself. The standard stuff. And then I realize they have like their tryouts, but their tryouts cost an arm and a fucking leg. And
their tryouts are scary.
What gets me is that it costs an arm and a leg, and it's not a guarantee that you're gonna get a spot. So that's why I say, like I said before, Natalia said it the best. If this was an easy business, everyone will be in it.
Yep.
And I feel like for those of us who aren't fortunate enough to be brought up in the business, I'm sorry that we all weren't blessed to have parents that were wrestlers.
I was very blessed.
Regular boring ass jobs. So my mom was a housekeeper. My dad was whatever the fuck he wanted to be that week. My dad was a jack of all trades. He did every damn thing. But again, it goes back to the industry as a whole. I'm happy that the industry has evolved over time, because we had, like I said, we went from having these big, strong-ass men that barely did any type of entertaining moves outside of like 6 moves that people used to go to Madison Square Garden and pay hella money to go see. Mm-hmm. And now we're coming up now, and we have a lot smaller wrestlers, but they're a lot more athletic. You're getting more of a performance style of wrestling. And not only are you getting wrestling in the technical aspect, but you're also getting the performance. Because now, it's a good wrestling match, but it's also like you're really intrigued. You want to see this through to the end.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like we have to thank wrestlers like yourself and other smaller independent wrestlers, Rey Mysterio, Chavo, both of the Guerreros, the whole Guerrero clan, Ultimo Dragon, Kalisto, all these luchadors or shorter wrestlers. They kind of kicked open the door for wrestlers that weren't big, jacked up men. Mm-hmm. And they changed not only did y'all change the game, y'all changed the entire industry.
Well,
and I don't think it gets talked about enough, because it's always about, it's the land of the giants. It's, the bigger you are, the more appealing you are to wrestlers, and that's not the case anymore.
Yeah, well, I am honored to be put in the same list as those greats, but thank you for putting me in that list. I'm just doing I'm just wrestling. I mean, if I could inspire something, that'd be cool too, but I'm just wrestling. I mean, I'm 5'8", maybe 5'9" on a good day, and
it'd be like that.
210, so I'm on the heavier side, but hey.
Do you? I know I mentioned it before in our first interview that my first exposure to you was on Ring the Bell. Do you ever like interact? I know you interact with them like on social media and stuff like that, but have you like? What's the? How am I trying to access? Have you ever thought about like going on there and like talking with them about wrestling and stuff like that too? Because I've seen recently that they started to do the reviews of SmackDown and Raw and stuff like that. Like on, I want to say Thursdays or Fridays, it'll be like 4 of them and they'll talk about it. And I know you were there for like that split second, like 2 summers ago.
Yeah.
But have you like done anything with them since then? Like have you wrestled like Joey or is it Moxie?
Yeah, no, I haven't wrestled. I haven't wrestled Joey since me and Paloma that whole thing. No, I haven't. Like I'm friendly with them. They haven't asked me to be on, so you know they have what they're looking for on that channel. I'm probably not it, so I'm no hard feelings. But if they want me on, I'll definitely go on and talk wrestling with them. But yeah, that's where that's at.
So how do you? I know you mentioned the friends that you had the most chemistry with earlier. How does it feel? Well, it's 2 questions. First, how does it feel growing up with friends in the industry? Like you started wrestling with them and going on 10, 15 years, you're still having wrestling matches with them. Like how is that for you? Like how does it feel to grow up with a buddy or pal in the industry from the time y'all started to now?
So it's crazy actually. With Austin, he's been retired for a few years now. So it was cool to grow up, and then actually I was his last match, and there's really no last match in wrestling, but I was his last big match, and then he quit, he retired, and then I moved away. But the crazy part is I was actually training with some of the guys that my dad was training with at the same time. So to grow up, and I've actually shared the ring with some of them, and like that's the crazy part is to look at, and then I was a kid watching these guys train and watching these guys wrestle. These were the larger than life stars that I got to see locally, and like to now be friends with them, or they, some of them have passed away, and it's crazy to see, like, to grow up watching them, but then also become friends with them and love them, because they loved and respected my dad, and they love and respect me, even though I'm probably not the best at communicating with them and all that stuff. But that's the crazy part, is watching who I grew up watching as a kid, like live, going to the shows, watching them actually sharing the ring with them, sharing the road with them, sharing locker rooms with them as an adult and a wrestler. That's the crazy part.
I can only imagine how starstruck you had to be to see all these top tier names just all the time. Like, I can't imagine just waking up one day, going downstairs, and just see Ric Flair in the kitchen hanging out with my dad or somebody, discussing the plans for the match later on tonight. I can't imagine that. I would lose my shit every time.
See, I didn't do all that. Like, when that happened when I was a baby. Like, when my mom and my dad were living in Dallas, when he was in World Class, I was around the Von Erichs, I was around Missing Link, and all these. My moms were friends with all their wives, so I would be around it, but I don't remember all that stuff. But yeah, you're right. That's probably crazy. The Von Erichs wanted me to be a Von Erich. I don't know, like complexion wise, I probably wouldn't have fit in.
That would have been very controversial.
Also, I was like a year old, so that would have been kind of crazy. To have a year-old ass baby in the ring, like, hey, look, it's Cody, Von Erich, and
like, oh, this is the new Von Erich.
I'm a baby, and
And then everyone's like, "Oh, but he's a little darker than the rest of them."
There's something they need.
That raises a lot more. I mean, we can turn it into a storyline.
Exactly.
You know, that's a storyline right there on the table. Why is the newest one, Eric, this different from the others?
Yeah, but then
that's a whole story.
But then as I got older, I would go into the locker rooms, and Jake the Snake would be there, and like Snuka and Bushwhackers. So to me, I was a fan. So I'd be like, oh, you know, that's cool. I'd still want to go buy the merchandise and stuff like that. And then as I got older is when I started to appreciate and kind of kick myself in the ass and not realize what was in front of me at the time. And not necessarily I wasn't appreciative at the time, but it's more of like I was a fan. Like I thought this shit was gonna happen all the time, and you know it was something cool that I don't look back on enough, and probably should.
I mean, but like I said, to just be surrounded by all of that greatness and having the opportunity to interact with them, I can only imagine how you acted as a kid, because again, I'm always talking about wanting to meet wrestlers. I think the last wrestler I met was the Young Bucks, and I have a picture with them, but the picture I look I'm going to put it in this podcast episode, but the picture I have with the Young Bucks, I look so annoyed because the camera woman, the whole time, she was just talking to me. I don't know what she was saying. I just know I was talking to the Young Bucks, and I was talking shit about how they had, they were on Up, Up, Down, Down, Xavier Woods' channel, and them and Kenny were going against a New Day in Street Fighter. And the Young Bucks got their asses kicked. So we were talking about that the whole time. And I just hear her talking to me. And I think she rushed me or something. And I just looked very annoyed at the picture. But I'm going to put it in the podcast so people can get the visual, because it's really funny.
That's funny.
But if I want to end the podcast with this question. If you could have a dream, who's your dream opponent from any era, in their prime, it doesn't matter. If you could pick one person or any amount of people, what would be your dream match and who will be your dream opponents?
So I'm going to give you three.
Okay.
One of my dream opponents would be Eddie Guerrero. Not, like, I want 97, 98, like, just asshole Eddie Guerrero. WCW asshole Eddie Guerrero, where he just looked annoyed and he was just ripped and putting on some of the best matches. That was the time him and Ray had the match at Halloween Havoc. But I want to wrestle Eddie Guerrero just because I want to see if I'm that good, and like that's why not? And then Shawn Michaels, another reason. I want 97, 98 asshole Shawn Michaels. I want right when he's in he's right at the top of his arc, just being an asshole. And I just want to say this is, and I probably should edit this out the podcast, but I'm probably not going to do it because I'm lazy. But I say this all the time, and I feel like 97 to 98 Shawn Michaels, he was an asshole. You can say what you want about that man, but I guarantee you, Shawn Michaels was lit as a bitch back then, and I would have loved to hang out with him. I would have loved to go to the bar with Shawn. And back in the 90s, not only that, he was, going back to what we talked about at the beginning, he was confident. Like he was the best wrestler at that time, and he would tell you. And then if you didn't agree with him, he would show you. And then if you didn't like it, then he would show you where to stick it. So I want to be, because that's what I want to be, is that just yeah, I'm good. Okay, I'll show you I'm good. Okay, if you don't like it, I'll show you I'm good, and then here's where you can stick it. So I just love those two. And then, like, my dream match, if I could wrestle somebody right now, as a 34-year-old in this era right now over the last year, and they were in their prime, I'd want to wrestle my dad. Because, like I said, I want it. This is the perfect way to end it. I want him to be proud of what I've done, and I want to show him what he taught me. And there's no better way to show him what he taught me than to have a good match with him.
And God forbid you won the match too. Like that would be the icing on the cake. But did you, like, growing up, did you ever, like, get in the ring with him and he, like, helped with your training or anything?
100%. He scared the hell out of me. He was strong as hell. But yeah,
Oh
no,
my God.
he would help with it, and then as I got older, I would take over and kind of teach people the stuff. Like he would stand out as he got older and say, hey, you know, do this, and I would be the person that would go over what he was talking about and be the guinea pig per se. But yeah, he was very, very hands-on and very, very, very helpful.
Well, I want to say thank you again, Cody Jones, for giving me an hour and a half of your time.
No problem.
I'm so glad that I got a chance to do a follow-up interview after I had to cut a previous one short. But I will say, I feel like not only did I learn a little bit more about you, but I'm pretty sure the fans have as well. Again, I thank you and applaud you for your work as an independent wrestler, especially in this current era, because I know it's not easy at all. I know it's been very rough. But again, thank you again for doing what you do, because you do this because you love it and you love entertaining people. And as a wrestling fan, I can only love and appreciate that. So thank you.
No, thank you. Like I said, without you guys as fans, I wouldn't want, like, it wouldn't be fun to wrestle without fans. It wouldn't be, even the criticism is good. I love fans, because wrestling, I think I said it the last time, when wrestling's great, it's the best thing in the world. So thank you guys as fans, and thank you as somebody that allows us to come on and give us a platform to tell people about us. Because like a lot of people won't give the independent wrestlers that platform, because we're not big stars. Like, we're not going to get those clicks usually, because we haven't been on, been in the people's radar for whatever reason. But we have to start somewhere, and people need to know it. I mean, I would like for people to know about me. And people need to know about me, damn it.
Exactly. You've been busting your ass for so long. Everyone deserves it.
But thank you. Thank you for having me on again. Thank you for the hour and a half. I could probably do another hour and a half, but thank you.
Of course, no problem. I feel like it's important to see, like you said, people do never get the perspective of independent wrestlers, because it's always, if they're not in a big promotion, then they don't matter.
Yep.
And I feel like a lot of wrestling fans forget that every wrestler started somewhere. No one is born and they're automatic, well, except for Charlotte, apparently, because Charlotte's been good since birth. But Charlotte's the only wrestler I know that was literally born to be great.
Yep.
Everybody else started somewhere, and they had humble beginnings and worked their way up to the top. And even some of the biggest stars now in wrestling, like I said, times have changed. Now back in the day we had homegrown talent. Now you're getting talent from all over the world. People are learning. We have AAA, NJPW, Impact, AEW, WWE, NXT. We have all these different outlets and wrestling companies. And now people have all these different proving grounds that can go and perfect their craft. And who knows? You might find, you never know. You might find the next Shawn Michaels or the next Triple H or the next Batista. You'll never know until you go out there and experience it and interview these wrestlers, because y'all all have stories that need to be heard.
Yep, exactly.
But again, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to us doing this again.
Yes, anytime.
And tell the viewers where they can find you.
Instagram, Twitter, who is Cody Jones. I'm heavily on there. Facebook, I think it's Cody Jones 87, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. If not, you search Cody Jones, you could find me. I try to be approachable on there. But yeah, that's where I'm at. You can find me on War Wrestling, Galley Lucha Libre in Chicago. Find those places. My matches are on there. I'm on YouTube, Cody Jones 08, I believe it is. Yeah, I got plenty of matches on there. And hopefully,
guys, look at his content, and definitely follow his social media, because if I wasn't following, I never would have knew he saw 50 Cent today. So all I'm saying is y'all are missing the quality content here. Again, thank you for coming to the podcast. I look forward for your next video.
Thank you.
and we are